Okay, so this article came up on my timeline from the Celebrity. Stay Mad Abby. Black students respond to Supreme Court affirmative action case. There's Abby. And I think the photo says, how are you going to hate from outside the school? You can't even get in. Hashtag Stay Mad Abby. Black Texas X. Well, so let me read you the article, and then we can talk about it. After being denied college admission to the University of Texas in 2008, Fisher, who is white, took the University of Texas, Austin, to court, claiming that she was rejected because of her race while the school accepted less qualified students of color. Her argument to the court was that the university's policy of considering race as a factor in their admission process was unfair. The case was heard by the highest court once again for oral arguments on Wednesday. Social media set ablaze when Justice Antonin Scalia suggested that African American students would benefit at slower track schools, as opposed to a prestigious school like UT. Scalia claimed that some black students are being pushed ahead in classes that are too fast for them. And you can read more at thecelebrity.com. Really, though? Okay, so let's start with Mr. Justice Antonin Scalia. Okay. If we've already reached the point where these students are getting into universities, I really don't see what the issue is. Because we all write the same standardized test, the SATs. So if we pass the SATs, if they look through our resume and they said we're okay, if we're still managing to graduate from these universities, I really don't see how you can say that we would do better at slower track schools. The reason why minorities have problems in the education system is mainly due to structural racism and socioeconomic status. And it's not just minorities who fall into this category. There's some white people who are victims of the system too. If you go to a school in a poor area, that school gets less funding. Because you have less funding, you have less access to resources. Therefore, your education suffers. Your education suffers, so you don't perform as well. You don't perform as well, the school gets less funding. You get less funding, even less resources. So it's a vicious cycle. It's not that black students are slow or being pushed ahead in classes that are too fast for them. The issue is the system is set up for them to fail. Now, if they wanted these students to be successful, they would invest more in schools and make sure the playing field was even. But now, as technology progresses, students are at a disadvantage of lower socioeconomic status are at a disadvantage because kids who are wealthier have access to better resources and technologies. It's expected that everybody has a smartphone, a laptop, and internet access, but that isn't the case. So it's not that these students are dumb, it's just that they don't have the ability to maximize their potential because they don't have the tools. So I just found it really ridiculous. And to imply that it's a race thing, it's not a race thing. They've done studies based on this. Do African Americans perform lower? Yes, but it has to do with socioeconomics, not race. Because Africans and people of the African diaspora perform on par with whites. So, what's your excuse there? It's the system. The system is failing African Americans. Now, for little Miss Abigail. Oh, poor Muffin. You can't get into school? Oh. It's not because black people are getting in. That's the easy out. But I don't see you taking the university to school for all the legacies who get in. Or, all the people who donate money and their kids get in that way. Where's the uproar, Abby? Where's the uproar? Because there's a lot more of them getting in than people of color. I don't know. Or, how about the student athletes that they seem to make room for, who get free rides, who just don't have the grades? You can complain about that, but you don't. Because you like those football games, Abby? Do you? Like that basketball? I I don't know. I just don't see why minorities affirmative action is the first complaint. Do you know how hard it is for a black person to even be looked at? Look at the employment rate. We could be equal candidates, this have the exact same credentials and job experience. But as soon as they see my name, because it's ethnic or black sounding, I'm half as likely to be contacted as if I had the white sounding name. But are you complaining about that, Abby? No? No, while you're over there working at the Olive Garden? No? No? Oh, poor Abby. Like, it's ridiculous. So, there's that issue. But, Abby, did we not write the same SATs? But apparently, according to you, I did worse than you. Do you know my marks, Abby? Do you? Because I graduated with a 4.0. Do you know what my resume looks like, Abby? Because apparently all of us are underqualified people of color who are in these universities. Why is that your first assumption? How come you never reflect back on yourself? Did you ever stop to think, maybe I didn't deserve to get into the university? Maybe my grades weren't good enough. Maybe my experience wasn't right. Maybe I didn't fill out the paperwork on time. Why is it always the minority's fault? So yes, if we've looked at that and you've met all the checks on the list and you still didn't get in, why don't we look at the bigger problem? How come the university doesn't have enough room for you? Why are you fighting the people who are here at the bottom with you instead of forcing the people up at the top to make space for you at the table? I don't know. That's just a suggestion. I mean, why is it that the white middle class feels like they're a new minority, and then it increases their hostilities towards actual minorities? Why don't you focus your attention and your efforts on the majority, the people who control the power? Because us fighting each other isn't solving anything. We're in the same boat we've been since the dawn of capitalism. Like, I don't know. I really don't understand it. But I'd like to know all of your opinions. Do you feel like the white middle class is being hurt by affirmative action? Because I thought affirmative action was there to offset structural racism. Because if universities as a business were like the rest of the free market, wouldn't it be like other corporations? Wouldn't it be like, oh, little Dikembe Mutombo, goodness, we know he's black. We don't want him in here. Like, unless, can he play basketball? You know that's how it would be. Because that's how it is everywhere else. Why is it that when I graduate, I don't even have close to a chance as my white counterparts with the same qualifications? Does she ever stop to think, what about all those white people who underperform with people of color? I heard somewhere that there's a statistic where white people with a criminal record are more likely to be hired than black people without one. And if you're black and you have a criminal record, you don't have a hope in hell for getting a job. So Does she ever stop to think about that? Or is this just the easy way out? Abby, I want to know if you really believe this. Okay, I'm just waiting for the trolls to come. Let's hear what you guys have to say.